Sunny surroundings of Rockingham Motor Speedway in Corby sets the scene for the second meeting of the Excool BRSCC OSS Championship, and after a fantastic season opener at Silverstone a few weeks ago, we now head to a circuit that's very unique with two distinctive sections. On the front row for the first row of the grid is number 35 Mike Genby, former champion. We're going to try and doorstep our front row man driver alongside him, which is Richard Wise in his beautiful red Chiron LMP. I'll see if we can quickly grab a word if we can with Richard in second place for a second. Richard, good work for P2. Looks as though it's working out pretty well for you so far. Yes, the car's going really well. I think this is the third time we've raced it, so still getting to know it, and so far so good. Really pleased, yeah. You had a pretty decent weekend opening at Silverstone. How did that work out for you?
Well, we went well in the non-championship round at Snetterton. We had a couple of wins there, but at Silverstone we had some engine trouble, which hopefully we've ironed out now. So with a bit of luck, we'll have a smoother ride today.
You're going to try and give this man next to you a bit of a chase now?
I'm going to try my hardest, but I'm not a defeatist, but I think he might be a step beyond, but I'll bloody try, I tell you.
Never say never.
Never.
Good stuff, well done.
Thank you.
Right, let's take you over to Richard John Neal, who has the grid for the full rundown of race one. Richard, over to you.
Thanks very much indeed, Scott, and what a race we've got in prospect with Mike Genby on pole, Richard Wise alongside them, Mark Abbott and Graham Hill, John Paul Ivy next from Lee Torrey. Row 4, John Gilman with Adam Dale, Alistair Smart and Patrick Sherrington on row 5, then Brent Hill and Paul Spencer. 7th row, Daniel Prendergast and Martin Baker, Eamon Matheson next with Andy Chittenden, Martin Heath and Norman Lackford on row 9. Row 10, Robert Gilman and Neil Harris, Paul Myers and Matt Domin complete the grid. Pole position then Mike Genby, Class C Mark Abbott, Class A Patrick Sherrington, Class D Neil Harris, Class E Paul Myers, Class F Matt Domin. Invitation class runner as well in the mix is John Paul Ivy. Away we go, what a start, super start by Mike Genby, who leads round into turn 1. We're on board with Lee Torrey. Look at this site, this is an absolutely superb site of some mouth-watering sports car machinery on a superb circuit, and a great piece of track turn 1 is, and what a start, a very impressive start from Mike Genby on board with Paul Spencer. Paul, the joint championship leader with Josh Smith coming into this event, both of them on 71 points, but running in separate classes. Spencer in Class A, Josh Smith in Class C. Josh not with us this weekend. Our warmest congratulations to Josh and his wife Anna on the birth of their son Reuben Joshua Smith. That's great news, and we look forward to seeing Josh, the defending champion, multi-champion indeed, back with us later on in the season. So heading down from the furthermost point on the circuit, the Corby corner, down to Steel Straight into Gracelands, and then the run down in towards the Tarzan hairpin. We're looking up the Steel Straight at the moment, and on the outside line is Mark Abbott in the 55. Mark, effectively the man who could take the Class C Championship lead away from Josh Smith at this meeting, and he's running well at the moment. John Paul Ivy in the 23 car, busy challenging the man that Scott spoke to on the grid. That of course is Richard Wise in the Chiron. Both Wise and the race leader Mike Genby running in Class B. Lee Torrey is in Class C in his Radical. What a super start it was, but we are under yellow flags here, so they've calmed it all down. I'm not entirely sure why things have slowed down, but this is the Dean hairpin. You can see frantically waved yellows there by the marshals, and it's very easy for a marshal to feel that he or she is a long way away. That's the reason for the yellow flags. I think Robert Gilman, who is parked up, didn't make it around the first lap, so we're on lap 2. This is the camera at Yentwood. You'll notice that this is the only anti-clockwise venue that the Excool BRSCC OSS Championship races on, so it is a different, not hugely different of course, racing anti-clockwise, but it is a little bit out of the ordinary for that, and it adds a challenge. The other thing at Rockingham, a lot of people think Rockingham is flat, but if you look at our shots and the way that our race director has placed the cameras here, you do see the gradients, the way that this has been shot, and they're not huge gradients, but they are gradients nonetheless. And there's a little run down here, you can see down Steel Straight. There's another very, very slight rise and fall as they go along the School Straight, which is behind the pit complex. So under yellows, and getting ready for our restart at the end of lap 2, Mike Genvy it is who leads the field. Mike setting pole position today. He runs second place in Class B behind Duncan Williams in terms of championship positions, and fourth overall. The overall championship led by Josh Smith jointly with Paul Spencer. Spencer running in Class A, as we've already mentioned, and Duncan Williams third in the standings. Mike Genvy just a point behind. There is the Robert Gilman car being pulled away. He sadly is our first retirement here at Rockingham. Let's hope that Robert will be back out on track for our remaining 2 races. He had a fairly productive Silverstone meeting with 6th place in class in race 1 and then a brace of 5th positions in the other 2 races. But with his mind focused on the restart, it is Mike Genvy in the Genvy Gun TS6, comes out of the turn 4, out of the Brook chicane onto turn 4. Now Scott was referring to this circuit being really a circuit of 2 halves. You've got this super speedway section here where the cars go flat. It's a wonderful piece of tarmac, as I've already said, and then the technical infield which the cars have to negotiate as well. Good start by Genvy. Richard Wise trying to keep him honest. Then it's John Paul Ivy running in 3rd place at the moment. John Paul running in the invitation category, and he's putting pressure on the 2nd place man at the moment. So good start. It's Mark Abbott in the green Radical who is chasing as well. And Mike Genvy has all the work to do. It was a super start from Mike Genvy, and it looks like at the moment he's getting away from fellow Class B runner Richard Wise. And Richard will be keeping his eyes firmly on the mirrors for John Paul Ivy. Here's the run down Steel Straight. Super shot here, and Genvy having to do some hard work in these early stages. The race timed, incidentally, as most BRSCC races are, at 20 minutes. So there's plenty of time for the race to develop. Look at the conditions here. Wonderful blue skies, little bit of cloud coverage, but the cloud coverage not really giving us much in terms of a drop in temperature. It's very, very hot here today. One of the hottest days that we've had so far this year. Wise piling the pressure on. Mike Genvy still out front. Genvy looking for his 2nd outright win. We've got a loose cone on track. One of the marker cones, I think, from the entrance to the pit lane goes askew. Thankfully doesn't cause any problems. Could be a problem if it gets wedged under a wheel. So the marshals, I'm sure, at a safe juncture will rescue that. Round turn 1. Now the reason this is such an awesome bit of tarmac is because it's not for the faint-hearted. A lock up there from Mark Abbott going into the Dean hairpin. Meanwhile, Richard Wise really keeping the race leader honest at the moment. Super race there. Then we've got the 55 of Mark Abbott, the 72 machine. That's Graham Hill in the Radical PR6. Graham taking 3 podia at Silverstone. He's 3rd in the Class C standings behind Mark Abbott. So the Class C battle really between the green machine of Mark Abbott, who runs 2nd in the Class C standings, coming here, and Graham Hill we saw in the white and orange 72. But we've got a great battle on for the lead still, and Mike Genvy will be looking in his mirrors. Richard Wise trying to keep him honest at the moment. So there is Graham Hill looking to try and take 2nd position in the standings away from Mark Abbott, who is right behind him. Meanwhile, our look down School Straight and into the Brook S's at the race leader, which remains Mike Genvy, former champion of course. Lost out on the class title last year by a single point, and I waxed lyrical at the Silverstone event about how Mike Genvy fought back last year. Incredible campaign after the opening round to get himself not only back into contention but just within a point of the Class B crown at the end of the year. It was a superb campaign from Genvy. There though in 2nd place is Richard Wise, took 3rd place in the opening race of the year, and we go on board with Paul Spencer, joint championship leader, who makes a very good pass down the inside line. You have to be mindful of the white line apron. You can put 2 wheels across, but 4 is deemed as track limits, which of course you don't want to do. And this is very good progress indeed from Paul Spencer. The pole man, as I mentioned, was Patrick Sherrington, who is 2nd in the Class A standings coming into this round. So Paul perhaps with some chasing up to do. Paul started 12th on the grid, 2nd in class, with Brent Hill between himself and Patrick Sherrington. Good onboard shot here, going through Piff Paff and up towards Corby. This is just inside the straight between turns 2 and 3 on the oval. That's Martin Heath running with Dan Prendergast. And here is the view again from Paul Spencer. You can see a wonderful view of the blue skies. This facility at Rockingham, huge facility, can cater for masses and masses of spectators. That was originally the designation for the IndyCar races. Now that's Graham Hill, who has had a spin. They're going to be very heavily waved yellow as we're going along School Straight. Don't really get the idea of the gradient from from going along the onboard, but we're coming into the Brook S's and safely negotiated by Paul Spencer. Graham Hill, though, stricken. He's lost out on the lead for Class C. Welcome back to Rockingham Motor Speedway and the race leader Mike Genvy, but we look very briefly there at Dan Prendergast, who is running 4th position in Class C. 73 car is Alistair Smart. Alistair in a podium position in Class C, running in 3rd place in class behind Lee Torrey and John Gilman, but we ride on board with Paul Spencer. And Paul, as I said, the joint championship leader and the leader in class for Class A in terms of championship standings, and he's having a good run, but dropping away from the leader a little bit now is Richard Wise, who's got a problem. Richard Wise is sadly out of the race. He was taking the battle to Mike Genvy, but the Chiron pulls over. Let's hope that the Chiron will be back out for race 2, but Mike Genvy having to work through some traffic now, and that's the key thing about multi-class racing, is that there's very rarely an easy win, because you might have the pace, and clearly Mike Genvy, now getting into some traffic, was going to have to deal with Richard Wise and also the traffic that he would encounter as race leader. But he is away and clear. He has the fastest lap of the race as well, set back on lap 6, averaging just under 90 miles an hour. Just think about that speed and look at the twists and turns of this track. So that's a very, very fast lap indeed. Genvy goes into the Brook S's and back onto the main oval here at Rockingham, which is still used by the Pickup Truck Racing Championship, incidentally, use the oval. Now, in terms of other MSA racing, you're only allowed to use one of the oval turns in the track configuration. So they use turn 1 there. There used to be a time when we used turn 4 with a chicane at turn 1, but at the moment we use turn 1, which is the best thing to do in terms of starts. We're on board once again, this time with Lee Torrey. He is running in 3rd place now behind John Paul Ivy and leading Class C. So Lee Torrey really working well here. The 78 car, the Radical SR3, had a brace of retirements and a 5th place in class at Silverstone, but looking good here for a potential class win. Great view from the onboard as we go out of the Brook S's, and Lee working well. Meanwhile, Andy Chittenden in the Class C Radical SR3 about to be passed by Mike Genvy. Andy sees him, moves over. Great driving from Andy Chittenden, who's running 7th in Class C, incidentally, and in 12th position outright. So Andy not having a bad race either, but down School Straight for the last time, and it is where Mike Genvy is at the moment, is slightly downhill. We go through the Brook S's, nothing to trouble Mike Genvy. It looks like he is going to take the Class Championship lead as well as the race win here in round 4 of the championship. There's the checker. Mike Genvy takes it. Immediately behind him, Andy Chittenden secures 7th in class and 12th overall. John Paul Ivy 2nd from Lee Torrey, the winner of Class C. John Gilman next from Adam Dale and Alistair Smart. Paul Spencer wins Class A. Then it was Daniel Prendergast, Brent Hill, Graham Hill, Patrick Sherrington, Andy Chittenden 12th from Norman Lackford, Eamon Matheson, Matt Domin winning Class F from Neil Harris, the Class D winner, and Paul Myers, who won Class E.
Well, Mike, another victory, congratulations, and in pretty hot conditions. Richard, for the most part, pushed you quite a long way.
Yeah, the first, I don't know, it seemed like most of the race he was right with me, and I couldn't shake him, and we got through a few back marks. I thought put in a concerted effort, but no, I couldn't get away from him, so I didn't try too hard. It's pretty slippery out there today, so I didn't want to make any mistakes. So we managed to sort of just keep him firing up behind. He couldn't get there, and then I think I gapped him a bit at the end. I don't know what happened. He obviously pulled over at the end, so you know, unlucky for him, but you know, really pleased to win another one.
How was the car in the hot conditions?
Yeah, it was okay. It was it's hot. It's really hot. So temperatures were just okay, just okay. We're having a few issues and having to short shift in places. But yeah, it's just a bit slippy out there. I think it's just the heat. So, but no, really good race. Really enjoyed it.
A little bit of cooling needed for race 2.
A bit of cooling needed for tomorrow, but isn't it going to be hotter tomorrow? I don't know. So we'll see for race 2 and 3. But yeah, another 2 races to go. I'm glad we got a night to rest for the next one.
Top job. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, Lee, a brilliant victory in Class C, and one that looks like you had to fight for a little bit hard.
Yeah, it was. Well, it's pretty fast and furious out there. The PR6s, well, they're 80 kilos lighter than me, so they got a massive advantage. So the game plan was hang in there, try and hold on to them, get into some traffic, and luckily a few things went my way. I had a real close moment with Graham Hill, but luckily we were okay. And it was just going on, and then something happened to Mark. Managed to get past him, pull away, built a gaff, and I was just trying to take it really steady at the end. So yeah, no, I'm really pleased.
Car seems pretty well suited around Rockingham.
Yeah, I think overall it's got an excellent. You know, it's really good through corners, really good on the brakes. We're lacking a little bit in terms of off the corner to the lighter cars, but it's a case of kind of gritting your teeth and getting into it. So yeah, well happy.
I think I put you on the front row for race 2.
Yeah, that's a little bit more daunting maybe. I think there might be a few of the Class B cars coming by, but I can be quite wide if I need to be. So yeah, no, I'm looking forward to it.
I think the widest radical in the place.
It will be, definitely, yeah.
Well done, Lee.
Okay, thank you very much.
Well, Paul, that's now 4 Class A victories on the trot. You're starting to build up a bit of momentum now.
Yes, I was a bit concerned today because I had a very poor qualifying. Didn't start well on the grid, and then I got overtaken by Eamon Matheson at the start. So that meant I had 2 Class A competitors in front of me, and during the race I had to catch them up and overtake them, and luckily I was able to do that before I ran out of laps.
There's a couple of key rivals overall that haven't made it here this weekend, so you're actually getting some pretty good ground on them.
Yes, I know that I'm not facing the stiff competition I would normally expect, as with Silverstone. But I understand a couple of them will be back in time for the next round. That's Snetterton in July. So then I'm going to have to fight a lot harder, I'm sure.
Whilst they're not here, you can take all the points you want.
Yes, I don't mind doing that. But it's nice to know that I've earned them. And I certainly feel like it now. I'm super hot.
Yeah, well, you certainly earned them indeed. Well done.
Right, thank you.
As you can see behind me, the cars are going out for the second race of the weekend here at Rockingham, but one class we don't often see is Class F. We're going to have a very quick word with Paul Watson in the beautiful Aquila in Class F in this one. If we can have a quick word, he's a little bit distracted at the moment, if we can grab his attention. Paul,
hi.
Just very quickly, beautiful car you've got. How's it running so far?
Well, we're just developing it now for this season. You know, we're not hoping to win anything. If we can get some consistency and get some finishes under the belt, then we can start working on the setup and getting speed towards the end of the season. So that's where we are with it at the moment. So yeah, thanks for the compliment on the car anyway.
Yeah, it looks brilliant. Best of luck.
Lovely. Thank you very much.
And let's see how Paul the rest of the cars get on. Richard, over to you.
Thanks again, Scott. Race 2 in prospect here. Mike Genvie and Richard Wise front row from Mark Abbott and Graham Hill. John Paul Ivy next from Lee Torrey. On the 4th row we have Adam Dale and Alistair Smart. Patrick Sherrington, the Class A pole from Martin Baker, then Eamon Matheson and Brent Hill. Row 7, Andy Chittenden with Martin Heath, Norman Lackford and Paul Spencer on row 8, Daniel Prendergast and Richard Gilman on the 9th row. 10th row, Robert Gilman and Neil Harris, then it's Paul Myers and Paul Watson completing an impressive grid here once again on the Rockingham International Super Sports Long Circuit. The flag is dropped. We are away. Racing. Eamon Matheson goes tight towards the pit wall and looks up the inside line, but it's another great start from Mike Genvie, and Mike getting into double figures in terms of outright OSS wins, but up into the lead goes Richard Wise into the hairpin. Wise saw a gap. He was very good under braking, and Mike Genvie is down to second place. The former champion passed by Richard Wise, who leads the race and of course the class as well. So Jemby, it's early stage, of course. We've got 20 minutes of racing action here to look forward to, but Jemby down to second, so the race very much on, with Richard Wise starting from the outside of the front row and nipping through on the inside line, going up into the Dean hairpin for the first time. Alistair Smart up ahead of Brent Hill in the Spire GT3, another Class C car. The Class C car is 1300cc to 1500, Class B 1500 to 2 litres, and Class A anything over 2 litres in class. As through goes Eamon Matheson, Adam Dale, Alistair Smart, Brent Hill, Norman Lackford ahead of the black and white car of Daniel Prendergast. Then it's Paul Spencer, followed by Andy Chittenden, and Spencer trying to work his way up to another class win. Unbeaten in class so far this year. Across the line go the race leaders. They're pulling away from John Paul Ivy, and this could well allow Mike Genby, who we ride on board, the chance to have a look for the lead, and he is going to reclaim the lead on the place where he lost it. Side by side, Richard Wise has seen him. Good, clean, fair racing, wonderful stuff here at Rockingham, and Mike Genby puts things back the way they were and retakes the lead. Richard Wise, obviously we've seen him have a good turn of speed, so we could well have a race-long battle between the pair once again, but Genby reclaims the lead, and this is the view he wanted. Blue skies, more importantly though, clear circuit in these early stages before he has to, in the later stages, start to negotiate a little bit of traffic. It's not generally that much of an issue here at Rockingham because it is a long lap, so you tend to get into the other class traffic a little bit later on, if at all. I think it will happen today given the differences in the classes that we have racing. So Genby the race leader, Richard Wise second, John Paul Ivy in his Radical running in third. John Paul, remember, in the invitation class, which is the two Class B runners that hold sway out front at the moment. Some fine battling going on behind, including Paul Spencer, who is chasing the group immediately ahead. Mark Abbott and Graham Hill. Abbott in green, Graham Hill in white. This is where we saw Hill having problems at the end of part one, and he looks okay this time, but have got that faster car wanting to come through, so Paul Spencer will try and deal with them. In behind them we have Lee Torrey, who won class last time out. So Abbott, who had a non-finish in race number one, the faster Class A car is going to go through. Paul Spencer's 2.6 litre V8 Radical will go through. This though, the view from Lee Torrey, and what a fine view he has, box seat, of a great battle between the two Class C leaders at the moment, with Paul Spencer trying to weave his way past those as well. Great racing once again from the OSS Championship. Welcome back to Rockingham. We're on board with race leader Mike Genby. This is round 5 of the 2017 Excool BRSCC OSS Championship, and he's closing down on the man who leads Class A, which is Patrick Sherrington. I think a first class win in prospect here for Patrick Sherrington, and Mike Genby will close down. Mike's got a pretty good lead at the moment, around about 10 seconds over Richard Wise in second. Great driving from the Class A leader. It's Paul Spencer in second position, incidentally, in Class B, Class A. So it means we're going to have a different winner here in round 5. Spencer's won the first 4 rounds of the year, and as you can see, Mike Genby negotiating the traffic well. The next car that he will happen across is Andy Chittenden, the black and yellow Radical SR3. Andy is fighting for a podium position in Class C, so having I think an even better race than he had in race number 1. So here is the race leader, who has a lap and a bit to go, coming through the Brook S's for the penultimate time, and traffic beckoning. That is very much the way things are in multi-class sports car racing. Blue flags go out to the cars that the race leader is going to happen across. Now, of course, they're having their own race, but Mike Genby will be careful. He knows he's got a gap. He won't take any unnecessary risks to pass those drivers. He's still looking at the outside line here on the hairpin of Andy Chittenden, who sticks to the inside. So again, great driving from those that Mike Genby is coming through. Into the right-hander at Yentwood, very slightly uphill, round into Chapman Curve, which will lead them into the technical piff path, the left and then right, curves taking them out towards Corby, and round the outside now of Norman Lackford. Norman, incidentally, in the blue and yellow Radical, running in 4th position in Class B. 3rd place in Class B is Adam Dale, and Richard Wise 2nd in Class B, and of course Mike Genby, our onboard, is the race leader. So Norman Lackford in a dice there with Alistair Smart as well, the 73 car we saw, who is 3rd in Class C. Andy Chittenden 4th in Class C, so Andy not that far away from a podium. The black and yellow car chasing the 2nd of the white cars we're looking at. We're focused now on the race leader, though, Mike Genby, who for the last time goes through the Brook S's, and the checkered flag awaits him on the run down the main straight. There it is, Mike Genby makes it 2 out of 2 outright wins, his 11th outright win in the championship, an 18th class win. Across the line now goes the number 40 car of Patrick Sherrington, who wins Class A. Paul Spencer there, not that far behind in 2nd in class, but here's the result. Mike Genby the winner from Richard Wise, John Paul Ivy, Adam Dale. Lee Torrey again wins in Class C, this time from Daniel Prendergast and Alistair Smart. Norman Lackford is next from Andy Chittenden and Brent Hill. Patrick Sherrington having won Class A from Paul Spencer. Then Robert Gilman, Richard Gilman, Neil Harris, Class D winner. Paul Myers wins Class E, and Paul Watson, Class F.
Right, 2 out of 2 so far, and another close battle of Richard mostly, but again, look relatively straightforward.
Well, yeah, I mean, he got ahead of me at the start. He braked me into the first corner, and I don't think it's any secret now. My car takes perhaps a bit more time to warm up than everyone else's. So I was just trying to make. I was worried he was actually going to gap me on the first lap, but I just managed to hold on to him. Then got a nice run through, and I don't know. It's the first time I've done a proper oval overtake, which is really exciting because I sort of went high and then I dipped across and below him. So yeah, no, it was good fun. And then yeah, just managed to create a bit of a gap. And I had a few gear change issues, which was started about halfway through, so I kind of backed off into a nice rhythm, and then that completely threw my rhythm, and frantically trying to get the pit lane to tell me where he was, and so it was a bit more exciting than it looked from outside the car.
Is that gearbox problem going to be an issue for race 3?
Shouldn't be. It was a minor issue yesterday, and we thought it would not reappear today, and it has, but we've got the fix. We think we know what it is, so we've got the fix. So we'll do it now and see how we are in the next race.
It's on paper on course for 3-on-3, but it's never as simple as that.
Yeah, don't say that. I've never done it. So yeah, you know, hopefully, but you know, we'll forget the last 2 races and just try and win the next one.
Fingers crossed. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, Patrick, congratulations. Your first Class A victory in OSS. How does that feel?
Yeah, it's fantastic. It's the first time the car's actually turned a wheel was yesterday. So straight, fresh, brand new car and an adaptation from Sports 2000. So delighted we're on the top step, but only the 2nd race in the car.
And of course, this weekend you've got a brand new engine. It's a 1.6 litre Ford EcoBoost. Tell us about how that's changed things.
It's quite remarkable, to be honest. It's 300 horsepower this weekend. The spec will go to 350. We've got 300 foot-pounds of torque at just over 1500 RPM. So it's a very interesting engine. Huge amount of torque right through the rev range. Only issue this weekend is overheating. We're still struggling with the coolant. So 2nd half of the race, I was having to run with the boost turned right down and short shifting, sort of 4,000 RPM, where we normally run to 7. So.
And of course it looks now it might be a bit of a battle between you and Paul for Class A, so it could get pretty exciting out there.
Yeah, hopefully. So it's good to bring the MCR race car's name into this championship and give the Radicals a bit of a run for their money.
Well, congratulations, well done.
Thank you.
Well, as you can see, it's race 1 and 2 winner Mike Genby, who is pulling himself up into pole position for the 3rd and final race of the weekend here at Rockingham Motor Speedway. And actually, Mike is going for his first ever hat-trick. He's never had 3 race wins in a weekend before, so he's going to try and make it a first for him in the weekend as well. Next to him is going to be the beautiful Chiron LMP, the red car of Richard Wise that we spoke to earlier on, beginning of race 1. Next to him also is John Paul Ivy. He's got a Class C car, but he's running in the invitation class this weekend. And then we've got Adam Dale, who I believe, if I'm correct, actually ran in the Radical last year, but it was a different class of Radical in the mix as well. Also down here, further couple of cars down, is Daniel Prendergast. Now, he was last year's Class E champion, and he's now switched to Class C. It's a very popular class with all sorts of different Radicals in there. I might possibly even see if I can just dive in, possibly, and just sneak the microphone underneath here and have a quick word if we can grab his attention first for a second. Dan, good to see. Of course, you were Class E champion last year. How are you finding life in Class C this year?
Yeah, I mean, it's still getting to know the car. It's still a steep learning curve, but yeah, I think through the course of the weekend we've had good results. So I'm looking forward to the third race from the weekend. See what we can do from P6.
You've got sort of almost like a camouflage type of livery. You're trying to help the people don't spot you out there.
Well, we got a bit bored with stripes, so I thought try and find something different, and yeah, everyone seems to like it, so yeah, it's good.
And of course, you're in Class C, which was a bike engine car before, so I mean, how much of a difference is this car really to the Contour you had last year?
Yeah, it's quite different. Doesn't rev as high as 1000cc, so sort of listening to the engine note takes quite a bit getting used to. It's a much shorter wheelbase than the Contour, so it doesn't react the same way. So I've not had a great deal of time in the seat. There's still lots more to learn, but you know we're here starting P6 for the third race, so you know I think that's good for the second event in the car.
Just quickly, how do you rate your chances for a winning Class C?
I think I'm going to be 2 down on power, so who knows? We'll see. Didn't expect to be this far up already, so it could happen.
Never say never.
Never say never, that's it, yeah.
Best of luck, Daniel.
Okay, thanks very much.
Good stuff. And that means now we head into the final race of the weekend. So, Richard, they're all yours. Over to you.
Thanks very much, Scott. Mike Genvy on pole from Richard Wise, then John Paul Ivy and Adam Dale. Lee Torrey from Daniel Prendergast on row 3. Fourth row, Alistair Smart and Norman Lackford. Andy Chittenden and Brent Hill. The Class A battle between Patrick Sherrington and Paul Spencer kicks off from row 6. Row 7, Robert Gilman and Neil Harris. Then it's Paul Myers and Eamon Matheson, Graham Hill and Martin Heath on row 9. Row 10, Mark Abbott and Martin Baker. John Gilman and Matt Domin complete the grid. Look at the sight these cars make. A fantastic sight with the Union Jack about to be dropped, which it is. The race is underway. 5, 6 cars wide, heading down towards turn 1, and leading the race is Mike Genvy, who wants to make it a hat-trick. Side by side, Torrey Prendergast and Adam Dale. They'll sort themselves out. Paul Spencer having a look up the inside line of Norman Lackford. And look at that. Well, once bitten, twice shy. Mike Genvy keeps it tight going into the hairpin, and as a result holds on to the lead. Richard Wise thought, I guess, that he might have a look down the inside line. John Paul Ivy is in third place. Lee Torrey is just behind him at the moment in fourth position, and this the view from Paul Spencer. He might have seen Patrick Sherrington grab that inside line at Yentwood. It's Sherrington immediately in front, so we're on board with the second place Class A car, watching the Class A leader. There in 73 is Alistair Smart. Brent Hill immediately behind. Smart and Hill both running in Class C, but look at the race lead already that Mike Genvy has got. Genvy really setting down the marker here. Through go the race leaders in the A class. Eamon Matheson here to the outside line of Norman Lackford, coming through the Tarzan hairpin, and then just behind them it's Robert Gilman in the black and red Radical Pro Sport running in Class B. So out of the Brook S's for the first time, Daniel Prendergast running well, and he's up ahead of this battle. Prendergast behind the black and red 78 car of Lee Torrey. Then it's Adam Dale in car number 3, the black, silver and pink liveried car. Remember, Adam, debut man last year, did a full season, no non-finishes last year, started and finished every single race, and makes a move here on Dan Prendergast, and Dale passes the reigning Class E champion. Well, you heard Scott saying, mentioning that Dan was the champion last year of Class E. Great move by Adam Dale, and just shows how much he's learning. Then behind those two, the two leaders in Class A, on board again with Paul Spencer, who should retain the championship, the class championship lead. Although Mike Genvy, if he takes another win, is going to emerge from Rockingham as we head to Snetterton on the 300 circuit as the overall championship leader. But Class A probably the closest at the top of the stack, with Spencer and Sherrington very tight on points. Alistair Smart in white, just at the moment up ahead of Brent Hill. Up ahead of them, there goes Patrick Sherrington, the Class A leader, and they're coming down the school straight for the first time. Sherrington still up ahead of Spencer. Is he going to be able to hold on to that? Well, join us after the break for the conclusion of our third race. Mike Genvy, this is where he's been for most of the meeting, barring a lap or so where Richard Wise got him in race number 2. But Wise, as you can see, very much on the case. Look at the gap back between these two. There's such a big gap. Richard Wise under no pressure at all in second position here. In the previous races he had John Paul Ivy to worry about, but that's not the case here. Wise is really on the case in this one, but so too is Mike Genvy, the race leader. Look at the gap back, huge gap back, but they are closing in on some traffic. Now remember, multi-class racing, so the race leaders will have to deal with a little bit of traffic between lights out and checkered flag. It wasn't lights out, was it? It was flag dropped in this particular case, of course. Now by the end of the lap, I reckon we're going to get the traffic, but that may be along the straight and into turn 1, which is probably the best place for the race leaders to catch some of the traffic. Now, the battlers ahead will see the blue flags from all around the circuit, which the marshals will show, but of course they'll be aware of the leaders, but they are having their own battle as well. Included in that are Paul Myers in the little Yamaha Global GT Light and Matt Domin in the Aquila, which is the car nearest the outside. The inside car is Paul Myers. Both the Aquila and the Global GT Light are class representatives and winning their classes, but safely past. Those battlers go Mike Genvy and Richard Wise. Richard taking a slightly wider line there at Yentwood, loses no time passing the back markers, and you can see Paul Myers is in behind, our lone Class E runner, and Myers in the 54 car didn't manage to post a race finish at Silverstone, sadly. Did pick up a solitary point for a fastest lap in class, so he did get his point scoring off the ground, but he's had 2 finishes so far, and hopefully we'll have another finish in this one. But anyway, that's Paul Myers, who's running in Class E. But we look at the race leaders still, Mike Genvy and Richard Wise. Very little to choose between them. I can tell you that Genvy is the faster of the two fractionally, and going through Tarzan, a wider line out here from the chaser, who is looking at different lines, Richard Wise, to try and close down on Mike Genvy. Now of course Genvy, as the champion back in 2015, knows all about having to work his way through traffic, having won many races here. By my reckoning, this potentially Mike Genvy's 20th class win, if he can hold on to it. 20th class win in OSS, and he's running great guns. The car parked up on the inside there, which I saw on the previous lap, and I reckon that's Graham Hill, sadly, who's out of the race in Class C. Lee Torrey, incidentally, leading Class C at the moment, and this, if he holds on to that, will pop him into a good position championship-wise. We've got Norman Lackford still running in class as well. Norman's had a good meeting so far, and I think may well emerge from Rockingham as Class C championship leader, with Daniel Prendergast in second. It really does, of course, depend how they finish. Mike Genvy will be outright championship leader and class leader, assuming that he finishes, but so far he hasn't missed a beat so far. But let's not put the curse of the commentator on him, because Richard Wise is still piling the pressure on. Class A is going to be the championship battle between Paul Spencer and Pat Sherrington. That's probably the closest class in terms of the overall table. But race-wise, look at this, absolutely fantastic. A Class B battle between the Genvy gun, which leads from the red Chiron LMP, and after that we've got a lot of radicals. We've got the MCR Sport, of course, with Patrick Sherrington as well. Here they come across the line again into turn 1. If you make a mistake here, I don't really have to tell you, there's no runoff, there's just a concrete wall, and the concrete wall does bite. It is not a place to have an off. So these drivers are putting an awful lot on the line to go out and race around turn 1. It's when you get it right, it's an absolute buzz, and I think that's certainly what Mike Genvy's having. You heard Mike saying to Scott after race 2, he's never won all 3 races at a meeting before. And when you consider that Mike's a former champion, that just shows how very competitive the Excool BRSCC OSS Championship is. Now, talking about Excool, it was Duncan Williams who won the first race here last year. Graham Cole won race 2 and Josh Smith won race 3. We go past Robert Gilman. Robert running in Class B as well, and also past Eamon Matheson, the invitation class car, the ES Mission machine. So 3 different winners last year. That's the point I was getting to say about. Duncan Williams winning race 1, Graham Cole race 2, Josh Smith race 3. Potentially a complete turnaround this year to a Mike Genvie hat-trick, and he's looking very good. Opens up a little bit of a gap now over Richard Wise in second position. Wise has had remember, 3rd place in race 1 of the year at Silverstone on the national circuit, 4th position in class in race 3, a retirement in race 2, and 1 retirement here at this meeting, and he will of course have drop scores to take into account by the end of the year. But Mike Genvie looking very, very good at the moment, and still pulling away, but as you can see, Wise a lot closer to Genvie than he was in race number 2. Just looking back, can't see John Paul Ivy anywhere. He's still running 3rd, the invitation class man. Adam Dale is the 3rd championship runner, running 3rd in Class B. Paul Spencer leading Class A at the moment. Lee Torrey leading Class C. Paul Myers running, of course, in Class E, as is Neil Harris in the Radical Club Sport. Neil Harris, flying the flag for Class D, which is the 1 litre to 1300cc class. Classes F and G. Class F, we saw the Aquila, and that's for non-motorcycle engined enclosed top cars over 2 litres, which is where the Aquila fits in. It's a great looking piece of kit. Race leader though, along School Straight. You can see the Rockingham Racing School building there just to the right of shot. And if you decide to come and learn the trade of a racing driver, that's where you'll be tutored if you come to Rockingham to learn from one of the many ARDS instructors who look after the needs of the student racing drivers up and down the country. Norman Lackford, the man they're closing down on. Norman running in 4th position here, and Norman, by my reckoning, if he holds on to 4th place in class, is going to be the Class C championship leader. He'll be 5th in the overall standings. You can see the blue flags being waved by the marshals. Norman, a vastly experienced driver, keeps wide. He's not being troubled at all by anybody else, but Genvie and Wise still very close indeed, and it looks like Richard Wise is starting to turn the heat up at the moment on the race leader through Piff Paff and coming down into Corby, and you can see what a race this has been. These two have been very closely matched all year. Slightly downhill at Steel Straight, heading down in towards Gracelands, the left-hander again, then a little bit off camber as they come up through Gracelands, now down in towards Tarzan once again. So Genvie's still there. Mike Genvie's fastest lap, a 1:24.6, again just a shade under 90 miles per hour, but they come down School Straight. Genvie's still there from Richard Wise. Richard, I think, too far back to have a look. Sometimes this is a potential passing position into the Brook S's, but now heading out of turn 4 and down to the checkered flag. Mike Genvie makes it 3 wins out of 3. An incredible meeting for Genvie, the former champion, shows his class. There is Norman Lackford, who finishes 4th in Class B. So it was Genvie from Wise, John Paul Ivy next from Adam Dale, Lee Torrey wins Class C, then Paul Spencer winner of Class A, Dan Prendergast and Andy Chittenden from Alistair Smart, Patrick Sherrington was next from Norman Lackford, Paul Myers winning Class E, and Neil Harris next up winning Class D.
Well, Mike, you wanted the hat-trick, and thankfully you've got it.
Yeah, so yeah, first ever hat-trick in OSS, so yeah, really pleased. It's a harder race, that one though.
You're now got to look forward to Snetterton next time out, and the probably likes of Josh Smith and Duncan Williams are going to be back, so it's going to be a little bit trickier next time.
I hope so. I hope they're all back. So I think I said before, we've done a lot of work on the car, so hopefully we're a bit quicker. We had a bit of a struggle in that last race, but the tyres are quite old, so we'll have new tyres on for Snet. So hopefully we'll be back on the normal high pace again.
Sounds like you don't want it too easy.
Well, yeah, it's never easy, is it? But that definitely wasn't easy, that last one. So I knew where I was quick and I knew where he was quick, so it was okay managing him. But you know, you arrive at back markers. I was trying to gap him because if you arrive at back markers and have an issue, he gets by. So we had a bit of an issue with back markers on the last lap, but hey ho, it's yeah, no, really pleased to have the triple.
You've driven superbly all weekend. Well done.
Thank you very much.
Well, Paul, it's your 5th Class A victory of the season. You're starting to rack them up now.
Yes, things are going very well, but as we discussed yesterday, there are a few other Class A drivers who aren't here this weekend, so it's going to be harder work when they come back for the next round.
Next round's at Snetterton. Is that a circuit you enjoy?
I prefer to do the 200. The 300's got lots of twisty stuff that favours the lighter cars. So, but it has got 2 long straights, so that's where I'll get my own back, I hope.
It gives the Radical a chance to stretch its legs.
Exactly.
Good stuff. Well, we'll see you there. Well done.
Thank you.
So, it's the award ceremony goes on behind me for the 2nd meeting of the season for OSS at Rockingham. We now look forward to the 3rd meeting at Snetterton in July. Now, some of the drivers would have been there in an OSS Trophy non-championship race early in April, so they might have a little bit of experience and an upper hand on some of their competition. So, catch us next time for more sports prototype action from the OSS Championship.